Queen's Lead podcast. I'm your host, Amy Singleton, and as a child of the 80s, I'd love to say Queens rule, but they don't. Queens lead. Being a queen means you are worthy to be a leader of people. The guests on our show do exactly that. They are leading the way in their businesses, families, and communities. They're taking their rightful place in the spotlight, leading and inspiring the developing queens in all of us. Welcome to the Queen's Lead podcast. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Queen's Lead podcast. Today, we are so excited to be joined by Dr. Kristen Albert, a queen who leads, who prefers to be called Chris. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Amy. It's great to be here with you.
So tell us a little bit about who Chris is as a person.
Oh, Chris is an eternal optimist. Chris drives an orange Volkswagen Tiguan, bright orange.
Yes.
And it has a Snoopy down in the left-hand corner waving at the people behind. And over on the right-hand side, there's a sticker that says, "I hope something good happens to you today."
I love it.
So Chris is an eternal optimist. My mother says that I was born with a smile on my face. And indeed, it's a blessing. I smile all the time. And except for when it's very rare that you don't see me with a smile on my face. Yeah. So very optimistic person. Let's see. What else would you like to know?
Well, how have you been able to maintain that optimism through your long career journey in higher education?
Yes.
One really big question that pops out right away.
Absolutely. I was just on a call about an hour ago with someone who's in higher ed, who's talking about the toxic environment and looking for coaching. And one of the things that I practice, it's called positive intelligence. It's researched by a gentleman named Shirzad Chamine. And positive intelligence is that ability to take any negative thing that happens and turn it into a gift or a possibility. And it's actually neurologically based. It's based in neurology. And through recognizing, he calls them saboteurs. You recognize the judge in yourself, the hyper focus in yourself, the hyper, just trying to be perfect, all the time, the people pleasing, the avoiding. So he's got this list of these 9 saboteurs. And when you notice, so when I notice that one of those saboteurs is sitting on my shoulder, I just plink it off. Yep, exactly. Just take my finger and plink it right off my shoulder. And then I think about what is the gift or opportunity in that, and how can I engage that situation in a way that is positive. And you actually create new neural pathways. And that's part of
works.
It really does. It's part of my practice. Prior to that, I think the genetic. My mom saying I was born with a smile on my face. I've always just had a very positive spirit. And I have to say, being blessed by, I've had a very privileged life that I recognize. And so that has certainly contributed to it as well.
I love that. I have been called annoyingly happy, annoyingly positive, all of those things, but I've never heard it delineated in quite that way. So I love that. So take us back to maybe not the very beginning, but first job, first career choice. And what has that journey kind of been like for you, in your own business?
Yes. First career choice, my bachelor's degree was in music education. So
I saw that you were a music teacher and vocal coach.
I was a music teacher for 30 years before I started my coaching business. So it's been an interesting journey because one of the common threads that I have found throughout my teaching. So I taught middle school classroom in vocal music for about 17 years. So who
Oh,
wants to
God
be,
bless you.
I know, who wants to be in a classroom with middle school kids? Well, I adored it. I really did. But
Wow.
the thread that goes through that was definitely leadership. So now, I'm a leadership coach, but my focus was not necessarily about teaching music. Music happened to be the curricular area, but
Yeah.
it really wasn't about teaching music. It was about growing communities of responsible young people
Mm.
who were um, capable of recognizing that they weren't the center of the world, right? That it was their responsibility to help to create this classroom community where kids, students felt safe, they felt cared about, they were able to take learning risks. And so this whole approach that I had to teaching was really focused on creating young leaders in my classroom. And so then when I when I left the public school and went to Westchester University, I taught 12 years at Westchester University. And again, I was teaching undergraduate music education students and graduate students. But again, it was teacher as leader, right? Teacher as creator of a classroom community. So again, I wasn't focused necessarily on the content of music, although I taught methodology, right? I taught music methodology, I taught choral methods, but it was really about creating teacher leaders and helping them to think about how they needed to show up, what they needed to do to show up in order to do their best work for the students and with the students. So leadership has always been kind of a common thread, a through line. And then leaving the university 10 years ago, there was really I got some backlash. I was up and coming leader in the university. I was getting ready to be promoted to full professor. That next semester would have been going up for promotion. And I was ruffling feathers by those in the department, not just the department, my department chair and my dean, who were feeling threatened by my success, by people across campus recognizing me for my gifts and my skills. And, when you're a positive person, people want to be around you, right? They don't want to be around people that are negative and always looking at the dark side of things. I mean, I am able to challenge things. It's not a Pollyanna positivity,
Right.
But I was pushing the envelope, and it wasn't appreciated.
Yeah. Let me guess.
Appreciated.
Did you hear, "You're too much, stick to the program. We don't know what to do with you. You don't fit into these kind of the things you're hearing?"
Well, they actually didn't say those things. What they did instead was, one day I got called in and I was told, "Chris, we're going to do a national search for your position, choral methods, elementary methods, and we don't see you as being qualified for this any longer." So I had been teaching, working my way up to, and then teaching those courses for 4 or 5 years prior to this. So now all of a sudden I'm no longer qualified to teach these courses. And not only that, Chris, but you're going to chair the search committee for the person that's going to be replacing you.
The hell I
am. Yeah. Yeah, they have you by the short hairs. They absolutely have you by the short hairs. And so yeah. And so I chaired that search committee, and that's a whole story in and of itself. But I can tell you stories of of rising to leadership in ways that, so I couldn't influence the dean and the chair, but I had influence in other ways that I could make, again, turn that difficulty into a gift or an opportunity. So yeah. So leadership has just kind of always been a thread through everything I've done, even as a Burger King employee before I went to college. I saw the importance of each person on the team having their sphere of influence and not only the capability of stepping up, but the responsibility for stepping up and being part of this cohesive team and system. So
that definitely is a different approach than what I think most people are used to, whether it be higher ed or especially junior high school type education, pushing the envelope in that way. I mean, I'm not exactly where I 100% stand on technology and cloning, but if we could clone the middle school version of you as an educator, I think our systems and schools and children would look much different.
Yes. And I think, Amy, one of the things that you're making such a great point, that every human being in their spheres of influence, in education, in politics, in no matter what the discipline and no matter how it is lived out, we need positive leadership everywhere. We need it in our schools. We need it in our healthcare systems. Yes. We need it in our when we're talking about what's happening environmentally in our world, but there's so many people who are stepping back and saying, either not my problem, or I have no idea what to do about this. And we don't, no one has the answer to everything. Yeah. All we can do is step in and step up. And so, like you said, in education, I was very proud of the young teachers that I was inspiring to take this out, this concept out and live this out, because I really do believe the students who are being taught by them now are reaping the benefits. So it was my own little world, trying to change the world, few semesters at a time.
That's all you can do. It's one person at a time. And I agree with you. We need leadership like that in so many other areas. We can't all care about it all, but when the leaders of certain industry or facets are doom and gloom, it's all the problem, no way through, I'm just angry, and they just get this chorus of other angry people with them, nothing's really being solved. Yes. And to have that more leadership and positive approach with, I've told people before, even in my own family, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be your doom and gloom and gripe partner. That's never going to happen. If that's what you're looking for, I will say, oh gosh, I'm so sorry you're going through that, but let's find a way through. What's our next step to find a way through? And some people don't take that very well. I can definitely see where leadership in higher forms would have been putting a quash on that right quick.
Yeah. The protecting and the controlling behaviors of negative leadership were really coming to the fore. You push the envelope, and then there's this need to protect what they had. They had this need to protect or control what they believed they had. And the research is really clear. Protecting and controlling and complying behaviors are negatively correlated with leadership effectiveness. It just, it's not going to work. And in long term, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Control might work on the short term, but it doesn't last.
No, for sure. So talk to us about the catalyst that had you going, all right, I'm out and I'm in on me. And did you have the secondary question to that is, did you have anyone around you or in your family? Did you grow up with entrepreneurs, or was this a totally different world for you?
This was a totally different world for me. My dad, who passed away rather young, he was 50 when he passed away, but he always aspired to entrepreneurship. But in his lifetime, he did not see that. But when I was asked to be the search chair for my replacement, I started working with a coach And I said to him, help me figure out how to survive these next 10 years because I've got this great gig going. Help me figure out how to survive these next 10 years until these toxic folks are out of the picture. Mm-hmm. And of course, no coach is going to just help you to survive.
Right.
But I worked with him for 10 years.
Wow.
Started with him shortly before I left the university. And my work with him was focused on helping me to recognize the limitations that I was putting on myself. So the things that I was saying, I worked hard for this gig, I've gotten a doctorate and I've done this and this and I'm capable and I've started this program in residence at the university and all these things and wanting to protect that, right? And him saying, really helping me to be able to stand up straight and say, enough of this shit. I deserve better. I am giving all my power away. I am very capable and I can, and if it's not there, I'm going to figure out where I'm going to take it. And so I started Turning Points really as educational consulting and instructional coaching because I knew education. And then as I went for my coaching certificate and did the practice coaching, that's when the leadership thread started to become clearer. And so it morphed into leadership coaching. But yeah, I had the support of this coach and my husband and my sister who gave me, I'll show it to you, but I'll read it. It's a little plaque that has a picture of a gal with a bag and a pair of shoes in her hands. And it says, she packed up her potential. I'm going to start again. She packed up her potential and all she had learned, grabbed a cute pair of shoes and headed out to change a few things. And my sister, like he was saying, Chris, pack up your potential and all that you've learned, grab a cute pair of shoes and go out there and change a few things. And
that's it.
So between my coach, my husband, my sister, those were the network. They were the network of support that helped me to recognize, or didn't, they supported me in recognizing that I didn't need to keep trying to protect what I had, that I had many more capabilities that I wasn't tapping into. And so starting Turning Points. And now this year, this month, it's my 10th year in business.
Congratulations. That is a huge, huge feat.
Yeah.
The statistics of small business. So to make it 10 years. And are you a solopreneur at this point, or have you built a team around you?
I am a solopreneur. Although I do parse some things out to a bookkeeper and to a social media manager and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But I really, because my thought leadership and the way I coach is so very specific to me, it is my brand. I am my brand. Mm-hmm. And so, plus I don't even think I want to get that big.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be so complicated. I want to just be able to manage it on my terms and at my pace. And so
I love that.
Yeah.
So what are some of the challenges? I'm assuming it was not always this beautiful of a process, and your website and having those resources like a social media manager, the bookkeeper, all those things. What did their early days look like? A lot of our listeners are either women entrepreneurs, business owners, or thinking about ditching the day job and branching out into something. So what were some of those early struggles and how did you cope?
Yeah. One of I think the tipping points for anybody who's listening that is, trying to decide, is this something I can afford to do? Right. Mm-hmm. There's always this question, can I afford to take this leap? Can I afford to leave? For me, it was a tenured position that
Yeah.
had continued room to grow and a great salary and lots of potential. Can I afford to leave that and start from zero? Right?
Yeah.
Start
That's terrifying.
from zero. So yeah, so I left on July 31st of 2012 and right away started Turning Points. So some of the things that I had to be creative about was how to bring in income, that bridge income, right?
Mhm.
And that's going to be different for everybody. But because I was a music educator at that time, in addition to my first contract that I got, I also did a little bit of instructing at a local university. So I taught a couple courses as an adjunct
Mhm.
at a local university. And then we did the kind of the magical finances of moving money around, right? We
Yeah.
moved, which reduced our commutes. And so the wear and tear on the car and the gas and all of that stuff.
Mhm.
Plus we were closer to all the activities that we did. And then when we moved, we were able to get our mortgage down to a very manageable, so
Mhm.
to save $1,200 a month on our mortgage. I mean, just that alone, right?
Yeah.
So just, I would say for people who are listening, you don't assume that if you're making, let's say $80,000, that you have to be making $80,000 when, to switch. You don't
Yeah.
have to have it all figured out, right?
Right.
I think one of the other challenges has been, and this is for people who are out there, I think, in marketing. Marketing is not my niche, and I needed good people to help me with my marketing. And it wasn't until maybe the last couple years that I finally got some people who understood what it meant to provide marketing support and messaging. And I worked with a guy, I paid him a boatload of money, and I came away with a great video that led nowhere, right? So
Yeah.
I think one of the big things I learned is that you have to have, I know that it's called a pipeline, I guess. People have to know you and what you offer. And the marketing folks that I had, I would think that would be marketing 101, that they would have seen, okay, we need to help her build this portal of people, this this funnel, right, of people who are going to come to her. But it was almost like, if you build it, they will come. Well, that's not the way it works.
Not exactly, right?
No, it doesn't. And so I think the biggest challenge for me was marketing. And it's one of the reasons why I'm doing a podcast now, and why I have my Turning Points leadership community, so that people can get to know me and hear me in my voice. Plus it also fits with I do the one-on-one leadership coaching, but it also fits with my my philosophy about everyone being capable of leading in their sphere of influence. So the community is really geared toward inspiring people to lead, but also giving them the tools to lead well. So both of these tools have helped me to build my funnel. But yeah, marketing was a big struggle for many, many years. I think the other thing I learned was the power of learning from others.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So I had a teacher mindset, and what a teacher mindset is you are in your classroom and you are the leader of your domain, and the kids are in the classroom, and you do it all yourself.
Yeah.
That's not how you do it in business. It's
no.
not. No. So
there's too much to know. Way too much to know.
Exactly. And people have expertise, and people like you who are willing to share their expertise. I mean, through your podcast, and for people to learn from that and to make connections with folks who you can have a synergistic relationship. They can learn from you, you can learn from them. I think some of the most powerful groups I have been in have been groups of women who are dedicated to mutually supporting one another in their business growth.
Yes. Which is rare, right? Because women in general, I mean, maybe not speaking for every woman, but it's already this feeling, regardless of industry. I came from healthcare, like clawing your way to the top of this male-dominated industry.
Yes.
Even though I'm a female nurse, who do I serve? The patients and the physicians. So we're already at this competitive mindset. And to make that switch that, no, wait, there is enough success for all of us. And when I'm at the top of the elevator, I can send that bitch back down and pick up another lady. Let's pick her up too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the same was true in higher ed. They just wanted to keep you puppeted, that you were the puppet. And they wanted to believe, like when I was told you're going to be the search chair for your replacement. I should have been able to say, there's a problem with that. But no, I was like, it was such a threatening space. And there's just so much competitiveness instead of, again, that protecting and controlling, right? Negatively correlated to leadership effectiveness, but instead this abundance mindset. And sharing in the abundance creates more abundance for everyone, right? It's
amazing whenever those concepts click, that it's hard to even imagine yourself thinking the old way. At least it is for me.
Yes. Yeah. And when you're talking to folks that aren't where you are yet, that they're a little skeptical. Like, can I even get there? Is that even possible? Absolutely. Yes, it is possible. Yep.
It is.
And we're right here with you, and we're going to help you get there.
That's it. So tell us who Turning Points serves. I know you have some individual coaching and then also group coaching.
Yes.
I'm very interested to hear kind of about that funnel or that pipeline. What does it look like for someone to work with you and engage your services?
Yeah, great question. So there are three ways that people can work with me. One is as a one-on-one individual leadership coach. And so the folks that choose to do that, some of them are at the very top. Many of them are at the very top of their industry, and they don't have an objective, safe space to be able to bring the issues. And so they're looking for a safe space for conversation, but then they're also looking for, they're feeling some sort of pain and frustration in how things are going. Relationship, usually it's in relationships within their organization. There's a great quote by Julio Alaya. Julio was my mentor coach in my coaching training, but he said problems in organizations are due to one of two things: either conversations not being had that need to be had, or conversations not being had well, right? And that is huge. So when you have someone coming to me for coaching, a lot of the issues that they're experiencing are either self-leadership or their ability to manage leadership and conversations with other folks. So to be able to make effective requests, to set effective boundaries, for example. And so those clients that I have are often presidents, CEOs, somewhere high up in their organization where they're looking for some coaching support. Also, those people are people who are ready and willing to admit that they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
People don't come to see me who think they really know it all. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if they did, I would tell them that this isn't a good fit, because they really need to be willing to be vulnerable and be open to new possibilities and new conversations. So that's the one-on-one coaching piece. I also host a women's leadership network, and that happens twice a year. That combines the best of one-on-one coaching with group coaching. So it's a 5-month program. During the 5 months, once a month, there are 2 meetings a month. Once a month is a mastermind. The second meeting a month is a book study. And the one that's coming up, now this will be done when this airs, but the fall book study is leadership, language in the pursuit of leadership excellence. So we'll do a book study, we'll have a mastermind, and then those individuals will also participate in one-on-one coaching with me, where they can bring their individual issues and needs to that coaching. Mm-hmm. So that creates this synergy and camaraderie and support. And again, it's women supporting women, safe space where women can come and be themselves and get the support they need. They can be cheered on for the things that they're doing great, and supported and challenged to see things in new ways. Mm-hmm. And so that's the Women's Leadership Network. That starts, it's always September through January. And then by the time this airs, the next one will be starting in March of 2023. And we'll go March through August, or March through July. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the third way to work with me is through my Turning Points Leadership Community. And that's a membership-based community. And there are several levels of membership, but people get curated content and access to me. I have, depending on what level you're a member, I offer a first Monday accountability call. So people check in every month with what, come with a problem, lead with a plan, or leave with a plan, and then come back the next month and check back in and are being held accountable. So Monday, first Monday accountability call. Second Tuesday is always it's a community connection call where people come and I facilitate a session on the theme of the month. So in that community, there's a theme every month. So I facilitate a session on that. And then the third Thursday is an Ask Me Anything open coaching call.
Okay.
And then the fourth Friday is when my podcast drops.
Nice.
So there's something curated and new each week, and people can become members of that community. And then there's online interaction, polls and articles, and just, again, all related to leading well, where people can get support and inspiration for leading wherever they're trying to lead.
Do you find that the individuals, like the high level C-suite individuals that you coach, is it typically more of a problem within their own mindset, which I think I know the answer, or is it sometimes also a problem with their process or procedure internally in the company?
Yeah, oftentimes it's mindset, but there are strategic conversations on managing change within the organization. So there's there are a lot of strategic conversations that they bring. Sometimes they just need to talk through something that's coming up. It might be a personnel issue, or they might have a VP who's new, and so they're trying to orient that VP in a way to understand what their vision is as as the leader of the organization. But then there are the internal pieces, like wanting to please yet needing to lead, right?
Yeah.
And not being a hyperachiever and not doing a great job of creating boundaries or delegating work, needing to hold it all for themselves when they're not, and not utilizing their people. So as a coach, I'm always listening through my lens of all these frameworks so that I can ask questions around what I'm hearing. So I don't know how often you have coaches on your podcast, but coaching is different than consulting. So when somebody comes to a coach, they don't come to me expecting me to tell them what to do.
Yeah.
They expect me to ask really good questions that get them going, I hadn't thought about it that way before.
Yeah.
Right. And then, so what does that open up for you? And then they really, the client only needs me for asking questions and for listening, because the answers are already in them. They're experts in their fields.
Yeah.
They don't need, I can't, you were trained as a nurse. I don't know anything about nursing, but what I do know is about people and systems. And so I can ask and the things that get people stuck.
So I noticed on your website, there was a separate, maybe a separate course or program, or maybe this is included on diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yes. I am a champion of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I started my journey back in April of 2018. This was a couple years before George Floyd was killed. I attended a performance that had people of color in the cast, and I was very uncomfortable with the content of the show, and realized that it was for a day and age that was not appropriate for now, and got me wondering and got me thinking. And over time, starting that April of 2018, I just started exploring, taking courses, reading, connecting with people. And I have a deep personal faith. So I will call this the Holy Spirit, because that's how it fits with my languaging. But some people would say the universe conspired. I would say that's true too. But over those, it's now 4 years, I have continued to see work in equity and justice for marginalized populations as work that I am called to, and I simply can't not do. I must do. I can't. I'm privileged. And because of that privilege, I have a responsibility to learn as much as I can, and to help to make change where I can in terms of equity and justice. So that's my story.
So you provide training to the entire team or to the leader of the team to help then implement that type of inclusion?
That's great. So that what you saw on my website is a course that I created to help other white people of European descent have a personal, safe space to learn and to focus and to unpack their own personal relationship with white privilege and implicit bias. So it really isn't it's not even like one of my offerings, or so I don't consider myself to be a DEI expert in any way. And I don't go into organizations and do DEI work, but my way of seeing is informed by my personal work to unpack my privilege and implicit bias. And my invitation to folks that come to my website is to, if you haven't started to do this work for yourself and you're at all curious and you want a safe space to do it, here you go. Here's a 7-module program that's free to take and experience and wrestle with your own experience so that you can, when we, as Maya Angelou said, when we know better, we do better. So
Right.
that's the
Right.
point of that.
Yeah. My husband and I are, we live in Oklahoma. We're born and raised here for me. And being a white, middle-aged female, it's a strange place sometimes to feel like I so want to be a part of groups that are more inclusive and, that are more diverse all the time and looking across the entire spectrum of existence and finding my way to plug in there without being this champion that's offended on their behalf or something that's not, it's just not right. That's not right. That's not the right place for me. What is my place and how do I insert myself into that as what I am?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a tough thing to navigate sometimes when you feel so passionate, like, yes, people of color, yes, gay people, yes, Black people, yes. But this sounds weird for me to say that. So it sounds like your course is definitely a great place to start for people.
It's a great place to start.
Headspace.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a journey. It is a journey for each one of us, because when we have that change and we go, yes, I believe this, and this is how, I believe in, equity for people of color and justice, racial justice and for people who in the LGBTQIA plus community. But yet, if you're not in relationship with people of color or with people in that community, then it's just kind of like that white savior, like riding in on the, and that's not right either. So it's a process of learning and then putting yourself into spaces where you're the only white face, right? And that's different, because my husband and I went for ice cream the other night, and it was a little farm near us that makes great ice cream. And there was a family there, family of color. Everybody else was white. And there was a family of color there getting ice cream. And I thought, how often am I in a space where I am the only white person, right? What is that like for them?
So rare.
Exactly. And so
you notice when that happens, like when that happens to me, I definitely notice. Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And even like, yeah, to have that be your everyday.
Yep. So I believe I have a responsibility for putting myself, in places where I'm not comfortable, or I wouldn't have. What's interesting is I am now comfortable. Yeah. But I wasn't until I started learning. And I just but it's a journey. It's a journey, and it takes intention and takes intention. Well, I love that you have put your time and effort into that free resource for people. Everyone, please go check that out for sure. Tell everybody how they can, if we've got C-suite people listening, other people that need that community of accountability and want to learn to be a better leader, how do they engage your services? That's the best way to get a hold of you. Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking that question. I would say best place to go is go to my LinkedIn profile, Dr. Kristen Albert on LinkedIn, because there is where I'm always posting. I'm posting articles. I'm posting information about coaching. I'm posting information about my leadership community. So if you go there, you'll see and look through my posts. You'll find my Turning Points leadership community. You'll see my contact information. You'll see information about the one-on-one coaching packages and that sort of thing. So I think it's a great place. My website is a little outdated right now. It just feels I'm in the process of saying I need to update that. I don't know. Websites don't feel like they're the end all be all anymore. It just, yeah. But anyway, LinkedIn is probably the best point of contact that will get you to any of those 3 domains, whether it's one-on-one coaching, whether it's the Women's Leadership Network, or whether it's the Turning Points Leadership Community. Oh, and my podcast, which is available on all the major, I think it's available on like 11 different podcast hosts. So if they would just simply search Turning Points in Leadership, those 4 words, Turning Points in Leadership, and that will take them to in whatever their podcast host is. And they should be able to find, it's a picture of me and a little blue and orange thumbnail. But yeah.
Who are your guests on the podcast?
So I interview people who are leading within their spheres of influence, who are people that don't necessarily hold titles, but see leadership more broadly. And I talk to them about their leadership journeys, how their culture has influenced them as leaders, and their wisdom for their invitation to other folks. But they're people that inspire me because they live their leadership and they lead. They're not waiting around till they get a position of authority to lead.
Leading with their lives.
They are leading with their lives. Absolutely. Yeah. So like those are my guests.
Like you.
Like the Queens, exactly. Lead. Queens lead. I love that. I love
Queens
that.
Lead.
Yep.
One day, my hope is that my husband's title will be Kings Serve.
Oh, I love it.
Don't steal that, anybody.
I love
Maybe
that.
We'll have the editors cut that out. But, I've had a couple of guys reach out and be like, can I be a king for a day? I'm like, I don't think so.
Well, you know what's so funny? I don't know if you're familiar with the work of Mary Ann Seagart, The Authority Gap. And guys, I'm not busting on you because I love men.
Yeah, we are. Just a little bit. Ain't no men listening to this anyway, but maybe our husbands.
Well, I love men, but I think it's also important for men to realize that their privilege as men, they don't know what they don't know when it comes to how women experience the world, because it's very much like a white person not understanding what a person of color experiences, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've had conversations with coaching colleagues, male coaching colleagues who coach women, and I've brought this to their attention. And there's this, I'll call it, the white fragility, right? This is the male fragility. Well, wait, I'm a champion of women. I believe in women. I give them a leg. Yeah, you do. I agree with all that. However, you don't know what you don't know when it comes to this gap. So you're inviting women and women's voices to Queens Lead podcast because men have had the voices for the past
forever.
Right. And we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
We are just, women are just, so these opportunities for queens to lead, right? It's lovely that the gentlemen admire what you're doing and would love to be part of it. They've already had their part of it. They just don't realize it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So,
exactly. Well, thank you so much for being my guest. We appreciate the work that you're doing up there in Delaware. I'm assuming anybody from anywhere can work with you. So, I'm sorry, you went to University of Delaware.
That's right.
Moved to Pennsylvania. Sorry about that.
And I work with people all over the place. In Europe, America, US. Yep, absolutely.
I love it. Well, thank you again so much for being my guest and for being a queen that leads, Kristen.
Thank you. And Amy, I just applaud the work that you are doing. You are a queen that leads and making the space for women's voices and for us to share. It's so necessary and so appreciated. And thank you for including me. It's been a pleasure.